Welcome back to the Talk Monster, Talk Radio 102.3. I am Tennessee's voice of reason, Chattanooga's conservative conscience. Glad you have joined the show today. And if you miss any of it live, the podcast is up at WGOW.com or anywhere podcasts are available. And it's also, at least this next interview, is always posted at TennesseeConservativeNews.com. And that's because right now I am speaking with Brandon Lewis, who is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Brandon, how are you today, good sir?
Man, I'm outstanding. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving, YAFFEE.
I did. I don't know if you heard. We just had public subs. My wife, me, and my daughter. I mean, there was turkey on the sub, but, you know, it's just to do the big shebang with just the three of us, I don't know. But some people say I have, been a traitor to Thanksgiving, but...
Well, I went back to Albertville. I did for the first maybe, 30 years of my life. I spent my Thanksgivings in part with my best friend Tommy, and we just always have a steak and a baked potato and, something green or, that's it. And, of course, my wife is insistent that we do 45 Thanksgivings, and she's an excellent cook. And so, she can't help it. She's got to be in there cooking something.
Yeah, I mean, I got one child now, one on the way. I'm sure in a few years, we're going to do the whole thing. And then I told Steffi, I was like, then while we're doing that, we're going to look back and miss the days. We just had public subs.
I would recommend the Southern Star. You just go down there, you take a bunch, you pick up 5 or 6 dishes, you pop them in the oven, okay. and then the wife's out. You send her out of your house, and then when she comes back in, you've got all this food, and she thinks you cooked it.
Oh,
so
okay.
Hopefully she's not listening to this broadcast.
Yeah, I feel like she'd figure that out, but that's okay. All right, we got to talk Tennessee politics right now. The big news of the week, it was getting national attention, but you had this special election, District 7. Now, Van Epps, thank God, won by about 9 points. Some people were worried about this because some of the polls right before the election had them just depart by 2 points. And, Trump took the district by 22 points, so it was a little too close for comfort. But what do you think? There are a lot of different opinions. Some people believe that, Republicans kind of dodged a bullet, but other people believe we kind of made a big deal about nothing, that it was pretty much a sure win. But what do you think?
So, all of these congressional districts are properly gerrymandered. Both parties do it. It's, when you're in power, you get the option to draw the district. And so I always knew that in the end the Republican would win. However, Matt did not do very well with Trump leading 22% and him only pulling it out by 8. I mean, that's 250% almost poor performance. And I think it is primarily because of a number of reasons. Number one, he's not and was not a very appealing candidate to the grassroots because, he was the one that helped orchestrate April 2020 stay-at-home order that shut down the state. He was directly involved in closing down gyms, churches, restaurants, the Tennessee Pledge that imposed capacity limits. They wasted $1.27 billion on no-bid contracts. He personally went on statewide vaccine promotions, and he's never even apologized for all of that. Like he was, Bill Lee's right-hand man during all of that. And, when asked about this pointedly, he said that, at least we didn't do as bad as the Democrats. It's, he only beats his wife on Sunday, and the Democrats, beat their wife every day, so that's okay. So I could not get very excited about him because when, he had a moment and an opportunity to stand up and do what was right, and he didn't. And so I think that's one of the biggest reasons that you see this disparity is because of him as a candidate. In general, he was the establishment candidate. And I don't think that the economy is helping us either right now, and it's not very good. I mean, I work with businesses all over the United States and in different countries, and so it's typically when the president's in power, he does not retain Congress. He'll lose either the Senate or the House. So the fact that we've, held on to control in both of those is good, although it is by narrow margins.
This is why I bring you on, because you're really good at this stuff, because you're the only one I've heard really bring up the point about Van Epps not being an appealing candidate himself. Usually what I hear is that for some reason Afton Bain is able to get Democrats to show up to vote, and kind of what you said, the economy, and it's really more of a bellwether on the Trump administration and what the midterms are going to look like. But you're the only one who really brought up the fact that maybe Van Epps also wasn't the greatest candidate because of the history you suggested. But why was it then that Trump endorsed him, you think? Because that's pretty much why he got the nomination.
Well, Trump's playing a different game, right? He's exclusively worried about the federal outcome support. Like, he had to retain Congress. And when the governor says, my lapdog's running for office, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go against the person with the most political power in any state. And, and Trump was a little bit blindsided by a lot of things during COVID. I mean, he's not completely, I wouldn't say that the man is, his hands are completely clean on that in any regard. But we should have stood up on principle. So much of what we did ran afoul of the Constitution. And to me, that I don't care what comes along. I don't care if it's a plague of locusts. I don't care if it's fire raining from the sky. Like, either our constitutional rights are non-negotiable or they're malleable. And as a conservative, I don't think that they're malleable. And the thing that I could not figure out, of course, I did not run either one of the campaigns. I would have preferred either Gina Bolso or Jody Barrett, or actually would have preferred one of them not to have ran at all. I didn't see any campaign tar and feather him with this stuff in an appropriate fashion in the primary. They made some comments. They might have sent out a mailer and, things of that nature. But I would have made him, every stop, he would have been explaining that exclusively. And that's what you've got to do when you run in primaries. Like, you can't, there's no way to be halfway in. I mean, either you're running to win, and his record was completely above board. It was a policy debate. It wasn't a personal slap. And so I think that could have been done a lot better and a lot differently. But, I didn't get involved in it, really. I didn't want to make anybody mad that was conservative, that would actually get back in the legislature, because that's where I primarily focus, and I tend to leave federal stuff alone. But he's not a candidate that I could have ever gotten excited about. And you look at the contrast between him and somebody like Andy Ogles, who was, who's a congressman now, who was really the only elected official in the state that stood up to all that nonsense and really, like, constantly put a thorn in the side of leadership about how wrong it was. And then you look at Van Epps, who was the exact opposite, who was pushing it all. And so you couldn't have two people any different whose districts are close together than those two. And so I would have preferred to see somebody run that had Ogles' medal and less of Van Epps. But it's amazing that you can do something that atrocious and then move up in the ladder. But it just goes to show you how short the memories and just not even the memory. I mean, a lot of people aren't even aware of that voted for him. And it's because I don't think the opposing campaigns did a very good job of getting that message out.
Speaking with Brandon Lewis, who is the founder of the Tennessee Conservative. Now, another story you have here on your site that should be pretty concerning to people in this area. Apparently, Chattanooga has seen a record for monthly shootings in the month of November. So, monthly high for shootings in November in Chattanooga. I always see stuff like this, and I'm like, the Chattanooga Safe Task Force, is that something we can have now? It's a little bit concerning, but what do you think?
I'd love to see it. Tim Kelly is always breaking records, but they tend to be the worst ones. I mean, when we're constantly showing up as one of the least safe mid-sized cities in America in list after list, you would think he would wake up and go, hey, it might be time to kind of, instead of serving and kid gloving the criminals, how about we go into these handful of zip codes where we know these folks reside and where the crime is rampant, and let's just go in there and shut it down like they did in Memphis. But I don't think we have a stomach for it here in the Scenic City. And, we've had folks being shot at bars off Macaulay Avenue, Hamilton Place, which is, when you look at the data, I've brought this up before, Hamilton Place is a safe zip code relative to the residents. It's the fact that the people in the zip codes that caused the crime go to Hamilton Place. I was there last night, as a matter of fact, right outside of where, the shooting was that broke out in Dick's Sporting Goods. Imagine you're going in there to get a baseball bat for your kids, and this crap happens. And then, of course, we've had, two high-profile shootings in the last 10 years. One of them I don't think they could have done anything about, Muhammad shooting up the different military facilities. I actually heard the gunshots from that one. My office was just right across the road from it in 2015. Geez. about 45 gunshots. It's easy to hear even in a building. And, of course, we had a huge shooting at a nightclub back in 2022. And so I don't know. I wish we could I don't know that a Republican can ever take over Chattanooga. I doubt it with the demographics being what they are. However, if we could get a good law and order Democrat that would just clean up the city and focus on crime and quality of life issues, that it would be better than what we've had the last couple of mayors, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe you could do it on a county level, Hamilton County level. Would there be a better chance for them to really crack down on crime, or is it really got to be done on the city level?
I don't think it's got to be done at the city level. I mean, the sheriffs can't come into the city. That's not their jurisdiction. That's not where they really work. I mean, there are times when they do come into the city probably to serve papers and things of that nature or warrants for crimes that are committed in the county. I'm not a law enforcement expert, but I would love to see Gardenhire or Bo Watson get on a stump like Brent Taylor has in Memphis and actually advocate for cleaning some of this stuff up in the city, because I think the residents deserve it.
Well, and what's going on in Memphis really proves that it can work, and you don't necessarily need as big of a task force as they had in Memphis, or they still have, but at least something that's really about law and order and locking up the criminals. Something could be done. I mean, Memphis is kind of proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what Rudy Giuliani did in a city as big as New York. It's all leadership, right? When you've got weak leadership, you get weak results. And I don't know. It would be interesting. I think that's something Democrat. If there's any Democrats listening, could win on in the city. I mean, I think you could still, give lip service to the social crazy stuff, but clean up the city. I mean, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. I think you can protect your people while still advocating for progressive policies. But this progressive policy of soft on crime, I've never understood. I don't think it makes sense, and I think if it were properly put to the electorate, it would be a winning message for someone running for citywide office.
Brandon Lewis is with the Tennessee Conservative. Speaking about Memphis, you have a story on your site. State of Tennessee officially files appeal against order blocking Memphis National Guard deployment. I mean, we knew this was coming, but do you think it'll be successful in the end? I mean, to me, it seems like the governor usually has broad authority with something like this, but what do you think?
Well, the issue is with Bill Lee is like he does not like going through the proper channels, which is what has got him in trouble here again. And that is, the judge primarily said that Lee did not follow the proper procedure in calling an emergency and going through the state legislature for approval. He didn't do it during COVID either, when Matt Van Epps was running his COVID regime. But the issue is the legislature in our state does not function as a separate branch of government. When things happen during COVID, when things happen like this to deploy the National Guard, they should insist on it being done properly. I mean, the whole reason we have separation of powers, which is a bulwark of conservatism, is so that a governor can't unilaterally do things. They should have the approval of the legislature. And so Bill Lee probably knew that this was not being done properly, but he also knew that Cameron Sexton and Randy McNally have never stood up to him to protect the people when he just pushes executive orders, very rarely. And so if you could just close your eyes and picture, Bill Lee doing anything that he's done, and, Cameron Sexton and Randy McNally, about 3 feet tall, pulling on his pant legs saying, "Daddy, just do whatever you want to." And that's not what we need. We need folks that are like, our constituents elected us to be a separate branch of government, and we need to make sure that they have a say, and we need to reach out to our constituents and see if they think that this is the proper thing to do. I think that conservatives would have agreed, but I still think that the proper procedure should be followed.
Well, yeah, it seems to me that if he called a special session, it would be a slam dunk vote in favor of it, right? Yeah,
and I don't see why it wouldn't. But, it's just that's one thing that's bothered me the entire time. Sometimes you feel like you don't, when these quote-unquote emergencies, whatever they may be manufactured or real, they don't represent their people. Like, if you get elected by however many folks that you do back in your district, you have an obligation to them to represent them and to not let the executive branch just put things out there. Even if they're good things, they should still there should still be a process that should be followed. I think in the end, they'll probably win that appeal anyway, because I think they've got some other strong arguments. However, one of the things that would have made it a lot more ironclad is if they'd just done it properly to begin with.
Brandon Lewis is with the Tennessee Conservative. You can read his latest stuff. Check this interview there every week, TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Sign up, subscribe for free, and you get it in your email inbox every day. Brandon, always appreciate it, my friend. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, buddy.